I think we can all agree that when it comes to skills and abilities to play this game that we all love, the player is what's important, not the soccer cleats / football boots on their feet. With that in mind, that is not to say that soccer cleats don't play a hugely important role in your playing experience. So if they won't make you a better player, but they are hugely important, what difference are they actually making? That's what we're gonna be talking about in today's video. What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a video today to discuss the connection between your ability to play the game and the soccer cleats / football boots that you wear on your feet. Will better boots make you a better player? Will they make you more confident? Will lower quality boots make you worse, slower, not be able to perform as well? That's what I want to discuss in today's video. Essentially, all the possibilities around different shoes and how they may affect your play, both in terms of physical performance that you'll actually be able to feel, as well as the mental edge that they perhaps might provide. I want to start off by discussing a statement that I know a lot of people are going to make down below in the comments, even prior to watching this far into the video and listening to what I'm about to say. And that statement is that it's 100% down to the player to play the game. The soccer cleats / football boots on your feet do not matter whatsoever. If you're good, you're good. If you're bad, you're bad. The shoes aren't going to change a thing, which to a certain extent, I do agree with that particular statement. If we use Messi as an example, if you were to put him in pretty much any current soccer cleat, high end or low end, he's gonna be just as good of a player. None of his abilities change. He's still Messi after all. If you were to put the guy in a pair of Crocs, he's still gonna be the same player. Obviously, he's not wearing soccer cleats anymore, which if you were to put him in Crocs in a game, he would be at a disadvantage in regards to one thing, and that is traction. Now, traction is something that I think a lot of people kind of overlook in regards to soccer cleats because it's the main reason why they exist in the first place. Obviously, there are other characteristics that are important in a pair of soccer cleats, which we will discuss in this video. But if you're playing on natural grass or any kind of surface that isn't kind of a hard, concrete, flat surface, cleats are kind of a necessity in order to have optimal traction, or at least decent traction, which is a real performance thing that you can actually measure, that you can feel, that will legitimately be different from one shoe to the next. So to say that shoes don't matter at all, while there is some truth to that, I don't 100% agree, just simply on the basis of traction and what that difference will be from one shoe to the next. On the topic of traction, I definitely do think that it matters in regards to your ability to perform. I guess the first thing that's most important to note is that you have the proper stud pattern or the proper footwear for whatever playing surface that you're going to be using those shoes on. If you're wearing soft ground studs on hard ground, you're not going to have ideal traction, which to a certain extent is going to put you at a slight disadvantage, and it's also going to be extremely uncomfortable for you. So again, having the proper stud pattern for the proper playing surface, or a surface that it was intended to be used on, is important in regards to overall performance. Is it necessarily going to put you at a significant disadvantage? No, not necessarily, but the traction is not going to be optimal. We also have to consider that every stud pattern will feel a little bit different. So if we use two kind of high contrast stud patterns like a Copa Mundial, all conical studs, fairly short studs as well, not very aggressive, more of an emphasis on stability and freedom to twist and pivot when your foot is planted, versus something like a Nike Mercurial Vapor 11, where it's all bladed studs, they're fairly long, they're very aggressive in terms of giving you tons and tons of bite, less freedom to twist and pivot when your foot is planted. They're essentially the exact opposite in terms of their performance characteristics. When you lay it out like that, it kind of sounds like the Vapor 11 stud pattern because it is more aggressive, because there is better traction, you would be at an advantage. But a lot of that really just depends more on personal preference rather than one actually being better than the other. So I wouldn't necessarily say that one stud pattern overall is the best if that's something that you're wondering, but you definitely can prefer the feel and general performance characteristics of one stud pattern over the next. And that is something to consider when getting a brand new pair of soccer shoes. So to say that it doesn't matter at all, I definitely don't agree with, because you still have to consider at least the traction aspect and what you generally like. Can you get used to pretty much any stud pattern? Yes, I would agree with that. But if you have the option, if you're going to be picking pretty much any shoe, you might as well get something that you like the feel of, because that in turn will at least, if anything, offer a better experience, if not better performance. Comfort is not something that you would normally associate with performance, but when shoes are uncomfortable, when you're experiencing discomfort, that does impact performance 100%. I think it's really tough to argue that. We have all played in soccer cleats that have given us blisters and played with those blisters on your feet. It sucks, it's uncomfortable, it can hurt a lot depending on the situation, and it definitely does impact your ability to play. You can't move as well, you can't run as well, you're focusing on the pain on your feet rather than actually playing the game. So in regards to experiencing discomfort, again, I think that 100% does impact your performance. So to say again that the shoes don't matter, you need to have shoes that fit you comfortably. And again, this is where you have to do your research. This is where you have to try stuff on. Getting the proper fit is also going to play a huge role in regards to overall comfort. You want the sizing to be correct. If they're too big or too small, that's obviously going to lead to discomfort issues as well. So again, having comfortable shoes on your feet, while again, not necessarily a traditional performance characteristic, it definitely does matter in regards to overall performance. The weight of a soccer cleat is generally associated with performance. Generally, the lighter the shoe, the better it will feel, the better it will perform. And the logic behind that is that when you're running, you're moving around a lot, you're just carrying less weight on your feet, which in turn would result in better performance. And maybe there is some truth to that. Some people swear by having the lightest possible shoes. It's something that they absolutely require in order to feel like they are playing to the best of their abilities, which I fully understand. If you're asking me personally, I really feel like the weight of a soccer cleat is more a personal preference thing rather than something that is legitimately going to positively or negatively impact performance. Again, I'll use the Copa Mundial Vapor 11 comparison just because you have such high contrast shoes. They're essentially exact opposites. A Copa Mundial in a size 9, 9.5 US range is gonna weigh in at around 10, 10.5 ounces, where a Vapor 11 in the same size is gonna weigh in at around 6 ounces or so. So there's a significant weight difference between the two. The Vapors will feel a lot lighter on your feet and have a different feel in general because of the materials and the way that they fit, where a Copa Mundial will definitely feel heavier, it'll have a sloppier feel in general, not at all like the Vapor 11s. And I think a lot of people would prefer the Vapor, but there's also a lot of people that would prefer the Copa. Again, weight is just one element of a soccer cleat, not necessarily something that I think puts you at an advantage. If you're playing against somebody in Copas and you're wearing Vapors, I ultimately think the one that's going to be faster, the player that will be the quickest, is the guy that can run the fastest, not the guy with the lightest shoes. So that's my personal opinion. Again, I realize there is a difference in feel and you can have a preference in regards to lighter or heavier shoes in regards to overall feel, but I do not think that lighter shoes are necessarily going to put you at an advantage in any way at all. The touch and feel on offer from a specific soccer cleat would seem like more of a preference thing, but I would argue that this does lean more towards kind of a performance characteristic in regards to certain shoes definitely do offer a better touch and feel than others. Plus, if you're not comfortable with the feel of the shoes on your feet, that will negatively impact performance, whether it comes to dribbling, whether it comes to general ability to control the ball. Having a shoe that does not feel right on your feet will impact your ability to perform. I know it's a sad excuse to make if you're wearing shoes that you don't like the feel of, but I legitimately do agree with you if you think that certain shoes do feel better on your feet than others in regards to feel for the ball and general touch. That preference does in turn lead to performance gains, in my opinion. If you're playing in a pair of Walmart boots that have a very plasticky, thick, low quality upper versus a high-end shoe from Nike, Adidas, Puma, whoever it may be, or even just a Nike takedown model that's particularly good quality, that's going to offer a much better touch, a much better feel. You're gonna feel more comfortable in that, which in turn is going to result in better performance, in my opinion. So again, Touch is very much a preference thing in regards to whether or not you want something thinner or more padded or leather or synthetic or whatever it may be, but it definitely is important to have at least a decent quality shoe in terms of the material of the upper and be comfortable with the actual touch that shoe provides. As long as you're comfortable and you like the way that the shoes feel on your feet, the performance will be not necessarily better, but it will be better versus something that you don't like the feel of. The looks of your soccer cleats is definitely something that a lot of people would not associate with performance, and I am one of those people. I really do feel like the way a soccer cleat looks has nothing to do with anything performance related whatsoever, but I'm sure a lot of you guys have also heard look good, play good. To some people, maybe it's down to superstition, maybe it's down to some kind of mental edge. They want a shoe that looks a certain way, or at least looks a way that they like the look of. Some people have to have shoes that match the kit that they play in. Some people have to have shoes that are a certain color. And if that's your thing, by all means, do that thing. You have to have shoes that you like the look of, go for it. That's not hurting anybody. But in terms of reality, I really don't think that the color or way that the shoes look has anything to do with any measurable performance benefit or loss. Confidence is not something you would regularly associate with soccer cleats / football boots, but I do think that there is at least some relation between your confidence level and the shoes that you have on your feet. Let me explain. Now, I will say that this is something that will vary from person to person. I have played with teammates that legitimately do not care about the shoes on their feet. It doesn't bother them, it doesn't affect them whatsoever, but it actually does. I think everybody can relate to this experience at least one time in their soccer / football career, and that is getting brand new soccer cleats / football boots and going to wear them for the first time. That first time that you wear them, I don't care who you are, you're probably just a little bit more excited just to wear that brand new shoe that you picked for the very first time. Because remember, you pick the shoe. When you go to a soccer store, when you pick your shoes online and order them, you're the one picking them. There's a reason why you picked that shoe. So there is something mental about that particular decision. Nobody goes to a soccer store and tells the employee to pick shoes for them and they walk out with a blindfold and find out what they are when they get home. Nobody does that. You have to pick the shoe. So basically what I'm getting at here is not that you should go and buy new shoes all the time, because obviously that's not realistic, but I do think that it matters that you pick a pair of shoes that you legitimately like, because if you're happy with the shoes on your feet, there is at least some kind of a mental edge that goes along with that. Is it an actual advantage? No, not necessarily, but it definitely can't hurt if you enjoy or at least like the shoes that you're wearing. If you're stuck wearing shoes that you don't like the feel of, you don't like the look of, or you just don't like for whatever reason, again, I don't necessarily think you're gonna be at a disadvantage, but there is that thing in the back of your mind that could potentially be hindering peak performance, let's say. So again, getting shoes that you're happy with can impact confidence levels, at least to some extent. I know a lot of people even think about their shoes while they're playing, which I don't necessarily agree with. I personally do not do that. I think you should be focusing on what you're doing, not the shoes on your feet. But if you are one of those people that is always thinking about your shoes, again, I think it is important to have a pair of shoes that you really like the fit, feel, look, and pretty much everything about them. That is important and that will impact confidence. And finally, will top-end soccer cleats ranging in price from $200 to $300 offer better performance than lower-end soccer cleats that cost significantly less? Well, let me say this. I do not think that higher-end shoes will positively impact performance to the extent where you will be at an advantage in comparison to somebody who does not have the same high-end product as you're wearing. If you have Superflies on and somebody else is wearing Copa 17.3s, I don't think that you're at any kind of advantage. The best player will be the best player no matter what shoes are on your feet. I will say this though, when it comes to top end shoes, the experience is definitely going to be better because of the better quality materials. Generally, touch and feel on the ball will also be better. You'll generally get better responsiveness and generally better fit with top-end shoes as well. They tend to be a little bit lighter, and really everything that we talked about throughout this video tends to be just that much better with a top-end shoe versus what you would get with a lower-end model. But are all of those things combined enough to put you over the edge in terms of improving performance? I don't think so. I really do feel that if you have the budget for top-end shoes, you can afford them, absolutely you should get them. It makes the experience that much better. It is a purpose-built product that is the best of the best in terms of what it has on offer. Not going to offer a performance benefit, of course, but if you're spending a lot of time in a single pair of shoes, I think it is worth it at least to spend more money and get a higher end product. If you can't afford a higher end product and you are on a lower budget, you do have the option of certain takedown models that tend to be pretty good quality. Do your research on that, or look for previous seasons high-end models that have been marked down significantly so you can get that good quality, maybe not the latest and greatest shoe, but that same level of quality at a much lower price. So I definitely do think that it's worth it to invest in higher end shoes if you can afford it, but I definitely don't think that lower end shoes are going to put you at a disadvantage. There are certain shoes that, like we talked about in regards to touch, don't offer the best feel, don't have the best quality materials, but pretty much at any price range, you can find something that is decent as long as you do your research. You don't have to buy a really bad shoe because of your budget. All right, guys, so that is it for a discussion on how soccer cleats can impact performance. Ultimately, I don't think that there is any one single shoe that is the best that would put you at a performance advantage, either high end or low end, but that is not to say that soccer cleats / football boots are not an extremely important piece of equipment. It's very important to find your ideal shoe. Everybody has their own preferences and own idea of what a soccer cleat should look, feel, and perform like. So that's where you have to do your research, and that's where the decision on what specific shoe you will buy will legitimately matter and can impact performance, not necessarily in a way that's going to put you at an advantage, but in a way that's not going to put you at a disadvantage. And I think that is the best way to look at this particular situation and to explain this particular question. So that is pretty much it. If you guys have anything else to add or any questions for me, leave it down below in the comment section. I'll take a look at what you guys have to say and any questions that you may have in regards to this particular topic. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and interesting, because I really did enjoy talking about this, be sure to support the video with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.